Exciting new pathways for international medical graduates and also local graduates in the USA, Canada, and many other countries of your choice. We are here to share all this information to you. Plus, make sure you understand how you can use these new pathways to be successful to establish your career in the USA, Canada, and other countries. Plus, answer your questions live. Now, first of all, I want to thank you for joining and welcome you all. Plus, it's incredible that the amount of support we get. We actually have crossed 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, and thank you all for this. And the amount of questions we get across all our platforms is just unbelievable. We get lots and lots of questions, and I recognize how important this is for you to have them answered. So we try our best to answer them, but for the most part, many times it's not possible to give personalized guidance on those platforms. So I hope you understand that. Okay. All right. So I want to start this session with a interesting question I had on YouTube. So this is a question, we were able to do a screen capture. And this is from Dr. Ghosh that says, I don't know, with all these new laws create a new wave of second-class doctors who are essentially workhorses that will never be equal to their US counterparts unless you wish to somehow work in the US. This kind of restricted license doesn't seem to be too lucrative, does it? I just want your honest opinion on this. See, here's the thing. The concept of people coming into the USA without residency is nothing new. It's been there for many, many years. I mean, we know about this for more than 20 years. Okay? It could have been there forever. And also the concepts of people moving without USMLA, only few eligible candidates, is also nothing new. This has been there forever. You guys don't know about this. Most people don't know about this because this is not talked about. Now, we've been very vocal about this. We've been putting videos, we have been putting posts, articles about this, explaining how this process works. So you have to remember, none of this is new. Now, what is new is the fact that there are a lot of legislative pathways that is getting involved in this. So that part can be new. However, for you as an IMG doctor who is trying to establish your career, whether you're going through this pathway, that pathway does not make a difference. Okay? So no, it's absolutely not true that the idea is not like second class, third class, whatever class it is. No. Everybody is treated fair and equal, and that is the whole idea, and that's what the whole idea of establishing all these new pathways is. Now, of course, the entry into the pathway might be different for each of these situations, but ultimately, once one is established as a physician in the USA, they're all treated equal, whether you come through the alternate entry path programs that is available across almost all specialties in all states, or you come through some of the legislative pathways that is available in certain states, at least I would say a lot of states, in many different forms. I hope you get the concept here. So, bottom line is, for you coming in through these new pathways, the most critical thing is not worry about what the requirements are, but rather focus on finding a position. If you find a position, everything else will fall in place. And once you're successful through the position, obtain your license or whatever it is, and become board certified based on your eligibility, then everybody's treated equally. Even those folks who are not board certified, whom we know of, are all treated equally. Okay? So I don't want you to all think about things like this, but rather focus on what makes sense in terms of applying for your positions. Okay? I know that was a long answer, but the short answer is no, these are great opportunities for you all. Okay? Now, all right. I also want to tell you guys, if you want to join live to ask questions, we do have that option as well. Now, I'm going to share a link here, clicking which you can easily join to ask any questions with me coming live on this video. But remember, if you do that, obviously your video and audio will be transmitted across this live feed. Okay? All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay? So keep on putting your questions. So here is my daughter. You want to come on? We do our usual tradition. That is very important for us.
Hi guys, so we're going to be doing our live giveaway again, and basically you can get a free coaching and live session from my dad. So all you have to do to join is you have to subscribe to the channel and you have to like the video, and then in a bit we'll tell you to put your name in the comments, and then I'll add you to the wheel while my dad's answering questions, and then we'll spin it towards the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that and you could win.
Cool. So continue asking questions. Obviously, that's what I'm here for, to answer your questions to the best of my knowledge. And second is like this video and subscribe if you've still not subscribed to this. Okay? And then let's start taking questions. And also, I want to emphasize that the more clear your question is, the more clear my answer would be. Okay? Because then I have more information to give you the information, to give you the answers. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we have a question from Dr. Riaz. Okay, now let me see if I can change the background, because with my dress today, looks like we need a different background, right? Text color, let's make it red. Nice. No, maybe not. Edit text. Let's make it black. All right, let's see. Maybe. Okay. All right. Dr. Riaz says, thanks so much. Are there any other states other than Oklahoma or hiring without USMLA? How do we approach these hospitals? I've sent many emails but do not get any reply. Can you please guide me? All right. So I think it comes back to where I started my whole conversation. See, it is nothing to do with any state. It is nothing to do with any hospital. Now, here's the key thing you need to remember. Do you have enough credentials that a hospital will look at your application and say, oh, this is a fantastic candidate, doesn't matter what country you come from, and we should take every effort to hire this guy or hire this person. So that is the way you think about it. Now forget about all these states. Okay, every state, all 50 states have options to hire IMGs if they're eligible. Now that's the way you think about it. Now I'm not surprised that you've sent many emails you did not hear back. Now that depends on many different things. How did you send your email? Where did you send your email to? And how strong does your application read? Do you have a really nicely made CV? Do you have a cover letter that explains all your strengths? And do you have the right person whom you have applied to based on the position you're looking at? That's the way you think about it, and not about USMLA, not USMLA. And another thing you need to keep in mind is, if a hospital hires any candidate, okay, the candidate has USMLA. Now the hospital has to do less work in order to help them get a license. If the person does not have USMLA, the hospital has to work really hard to make sure you get a license, because obviously you do need a license to practice. Now, that is where the key is. Is the hospital willing to say, okay, this is a candidate whom we can hire? Oh, wow, this person does not have USMLA. Can we help this person get a license? Because this person is so outstanding. We can't let this person go, because this person is going to be a huge benefit if we hire this person in our department, because this person can do clinical work, can do research, can excel in education, can excel in quality safety, all aspects of specialties. Okay, that's the way you think about it. All right, we're getting a call. Let's say Dr. Kishan is calling. All right, it got disconnected. I'm a little under the weather, so if I'm like coughing and doing all that, I'm sorry. Just bear with me. All right, I'm trying to get to the next question, which is, how do I get a sponsor note from ECFMG? Okay. If your medical college does not have a sponsor note, then your medical college has to reach to ECFMG and then follow a certain process in order to obtain a sponsor note. A candidate cannot obtain a sponsor note from ECFMG directly, and this has to be done from the college through a proper channel. usually the dean, director, principal, whoever it is, who is the chief of the college or medical school, must get involved in order to make this happen. Okay? All right, let's see. Dr. Bhargav says, "Good morning, sir. I'm currently third year resident in anesthesiology. What are the pathways to practice in Canada as anesthesiologist?" See, in general, it doesn't matter what specialty you're in. There are only three ways. There are only three ways of working as a doctor in USA, Canada, and most countries, I should say. Of course, the terminology might change. So you either enter the training program as a resident, okay, in USA and Canada, you enter the training program as a fellow, or you directly become a consultant, which is called an attending. Now, if you think of places like UK, Australia, and stuff like that, they may have other terminologies like house officer, senior registrar, and things like that. But bottom line is you're entering through a training program. And if I focus on Canada, these are the only three options it exists. Now, since you're a fresh graduate and you're still with your residency, and I'm not sure how strong your CV is, so I would say realistically, you could try for a fellowship, but I would also be prepared to do residency all over again, depending on how successful you get with the fellowship or how strong your CV is. So those are be the two options in your case is what I see. Okay? All right. Moving on to next question. Oh, by the way, don't forget that there is an option of joining live if you really want to join live and ask questions. Are there, Dr. Ahmed asks, are there any changes to be imposed by the coming of Trump to place considering the issue of visas? I actually, this is an interesting question. This is, well, I'll give my opinion. In my opinion, I think President Trump is focused on illegal immigrants. And if there are any issues that's happening, that would be mostly focused on the illegal immigrants. Now, we've been hearing conflicting information about the H-1Bs, but since most of the audience here are doctors, I have to say, the hospitals that hires doctors, actually most of them, if not all of them, are exempt from what is called as H-1B caps. Okay? So for those reasons, it is very unlikely that doctors would be affected by any changes in the H-1B visa. Again, if things changes, we would keep you updated about this, but this is my opinion based on the information we know. So this is not something any of you should be worrying about, but rather focus on if you're writing the exams, do really well on the exams. If you're focusing on applying for positions, make sure you come with a strong application. Don't worry about visa, license, and all that. Okay? So focus on getting a position. The most critical thing for an IMG doctor, I keep telling this again and again, is to find a position. Once you have a position, everything else falls in place. Of course, there are exceptions, but for majority of them. Okay? All right. Hopefully that answers your question. Where to look for jobs? Dr. Javed asks, I can't find any fellowship actually in these states. No, I mean they're all very easily published online, and you can pretty much ask. I mean, you can find fellowships, positions, anything online. So you just have to look for the fellowship, whatever fellowship you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for a cardiology fellowship, you search for cardiology fellowships, and then you should be able to easily find them. Google is very, very powerful. All right. Next, the question asks, what exactly is required to be a strong candidate for fellowship? See, when we mean strong candidate, these are the following things the programs are looking for. Now, they're looking for someone who has excellent training, okay? Meaning you have completed the requisite training. And you ideally have some years of experience. Say, for example, you're a cardiologist, let's say, okay? Now, you have finished your internal medicine residency, you have finished your cardiology training, and now you're functioning as a cardiologist in your home country. Let's say you have 3 years of medicine, 3 years of cardiology, and you have about 3 years of work experience in cardiology. So that is one critical thing. Again, 3 years is an arbitrary number, but bottom line, the programs are looking for how experienced this person is. Out of the clinical work, they're looking at, is this person really interested in the fellowship they're applying to? For example, you're applying to some, let's say, interventional cardiology. They would say, does this person have any experience in interventional cardiology? Or are they doing completely something else and now asking for this fellowship? So those things have to match. The other thing is they also look at how is your research, and many times they're okay without research publications, but having research always helps. The other things they look at is how actively you're involved in your specialty. How much involved are you with training your next generation of trainees, like your students, medical students, PG students, fellows, and things like that. So these are all the things that the program is assessing in order to say someone is a strong candidate. And also the country of training many times makes a difference. It does make a huge difference in Canada, but not so much in the US, but can sometimes be a factor as well. Okay, so that is what you need to focus on. So once you have that package, you have to package them really well when you submit and come with a really nicely looking CV. I mean, we see CVs when we help CVs, they look really shabby, because if a program director is reading your CV, reading your personal statement or cover letter, they're not going to put a lot of time. I mean, they get a lot of requests. I mean, if I myself get a lot of requests, but and if I'm seeing something, I need to know what is going on very easily, very quickly, and not spend too much time. And this is your job to make sure you get there. Okay? So now all this combined will make a candidate a strong candidate. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question. All right. Dr. Nodi says, is there any new changes in the license pathway of Canada in 2025? As far as we know, the Canada is changing the format of their MCCQ1 exams. But I'm not entirely sure what you mean by the license pathway, because just like the US, Canada is thinking of a lot of legislations. So right now, there are many alternate pathways even in Canada too. Okay, there is a Royal College pathway, there is a MCC pathway, there is a provincial based pathway, and of course there is a traditional residency pathways. Now again, even in Canada, just like the US, there are opportunities to enter the system directly as a clinical fellow, many of whom we help, and also directly work as a consultant in Canada as well. There are been very few candidates who have been lucky enough to have this opportunity, so these options do exist. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question when you mean the changes in license pathways. Now you guys have to respond to me by either a thumbs up or telling me something, because this is a one-way conversation. I want to make sure when I answer them, it actually does answer your question. Okay, that's the whole idea of doing this. All right. Dr. Anwar Dawood says, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Dawood. Thanks for joining. Dr. Avula says, sir. Yes, Dr. Avula, thanks for joining. All right. Dr. Mishra says, what are the options for entering into Canadian healthcare system for an MD microbiology graduate? Great question. Now, like many countries, microbiology does not happen to be a specialty or a residency program in the USA and Canada. So then where do microbiologists come from? Microbiologists actually are, many of them or most of them have done masters in microbiology, and that is how they become microbiologists. This is true also for specialties like anatomy, biochemistry, physiology, and things like that, because many countries have this as a residency program. Now, how do you enter the Canadian system? There are two options. So one is, well, I can say there are three options. So one is you can certainly look for those masters, but getting a master's is getting anything is extremely difficult. To get a master's, you do have to pay money to the programs. Now, the other two options are, one is there are very few fellowships that medical microbiologists can apply in Canada or the US. There are very few fellowships, but there are fellowships. with people of microbiology experience that can apply. Now, the third option is obviously you completely forget about microbiology. I mean, I don't mean like forget, but use that as an experience to join a different residency program. Now, whatever residency you've done in your home country can always be changed when you move into a different country. Okay, that is always an option. Of course, you have to do a specialty that is linked, then your application gets much stronger. So these are the options I see, Dr. Mishra. Okay. All right. Dr. Javed says, while applying for fellowships in the USA and Canada, where to get sponsorship for them? Okay. I think you're asking about where to get money for them if it's a sponsored fellowship. Okay. So the USA does not have this sponsored fellowship concept. This has mostly been a Canadian problem. Many countries pay Canada money to send their people to do fellowships in Canada. So Canada, now Canadian universities are used to this. So if someone pays them money, they're really interested in taking those candidates. And when we speak to those candidates who actually come as a sponsored candidate, their application, everything goes on a different stream. Their life is a lot easier. Of course, there is a slight competition amongst themselves, but it's very, very minimal. Now, where does the money come from? The money has to come from your government or your sponsoring hospital, not from your bank account. Okay, I want you to understand that. You cannot say, I have a heck of a lot of money in my bank account, I'm going to pay money to Canada. That unfortunately doesn't work. Okay, so that is the source of money for the sponsored fellows. All right. Next, the question is from Dr. Jan Juan. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it right. I'm an ENT doctor in Spain. I'm looking for a fellowship. What do you recommend? Well, again, the concepts come to the same thing. ENT, ophthalmology are some of the extremely competitive specialties in the USA and Canada. The way you would approach your situation is you have to see what is your subspecialization in ENT. Okay, so are you focused on, let's say, rhinology, skull base? Are you focused on ears? Or whatever it is. So, based on that, you need to find targeted fellowships and then come with a really strong application to apply. But many times, getting an ENT fellowship is extremely difficult. But that would be the approach you would take to establish yourself strong clinically, academically, and also put a really strong application package and proceed further in terms of applying for the fellowships. Okay? All right. Now, the next question says like this. All right, Dr. Dawood says, I'm a second year medical student in Europe, okay, but I'm from Canada and wish to come eventually back to Canada, okay. To that end, my university allows and I wish to add to my clinical rotation in Canada. Please help. This would be a fantastic opportunity, and I encourage anyone who is a medical student to see if there are opportunities to do rotations during when you're a medical student in the US or Canada. If you do this, your CV gets to a completely different level, and once you finish your medical student, and then once you finish your medical school and then our medical college, and then you want to apply for residency or anything in these countries, your profile would look really strong if you have this experience during medical school. The next best option is something you do during internship. Of course, if you already have completed your internship and you're already a practicing doctor, then your options would come to observerships or explore for fellowships and things like that. But one of the strongest thing we see that really works in favor is doing a rotation, during what is called as clerkship during medical school. And Dr. Dawood, I really encourage you to explore all the opportunities you have and see if your school has any collaboration with any of the organizations in Canada so that you can make use of, so you can spend a month, 2 months, or whatever it is during your medical school. It's a really big boost for your CV. Okay, if you need our assistance, you can always go to our website and book an appointment and speak to one of us. But this would be the strategy I suggest you follow. All right. Question says, is the indemnity insurance, I can't even say that word, insurance after alternate pathway certification is high? I actually do not understand the question. I'm sorry. Indemnity insurance. You mean malpractice insurance? No, it's all the same. It's all the same. See, I'm in the US through the alternate pathway myself. I'm not treated any differently like anyone else. I don't pay anything more for malpractice insurance. I mean, we're all the same. So I don't really think that's the case if I understand the question correctly. See, when we say things from IMG Secrets, we are saying things based on our personal experience and based on what we have seen happen. Now, these are the things you're not going to find online because if you find it online, there is no point of us saying it, okay? So, we say this because of our extensive experience of many, many years, okay, of alternate pathways and residencies, fellowships, whatever it is. We've been helping a lot of candidates, okay? So we say this a lot based on a lot of extensive experience. All right. Dr. Ved says, I'm a second year medical student at AIMS. My senior just qualified a USMLA and it created interest in my mind, but it's too costly, I heard. See, if you need to come to the USA, you have to, most of them have to do USMLA. Of course, it's an expensive exam, it takes a lot of time, money, and stress. It's just the way it is. Anytime you think of all this, you think of an investment in your career, okay? Because the few $1,000s you invest right now for all this is going to, I mean, once you start earning in the USA as a fully licensed doctor, these are peanuts, okay? So that's the way you think about it. You think of what you need to achieve in your life and then walk back and not worry about trivial things like, this exam is costly, that exam is costly. I mean, I understand. Many of them have financial reservations. Many of them might have difficulties in investing money in these things. But you have to think of something like it's an investment in career. I mean, you did join medical, you did join MBBS, and that's not easy to join either. That entails a lot of preparation. You would have gone to tuitions. You would have spent money there. So that is how you think about these things. Okay, everything you do is an investment in your career. All right, Dr. Jay says I completed my MBBS in China and I'm currently pursuing a fully funded Masters of Medicine and Master of Clinical Medicine in OBGYN. I'm not sure what country from, okay, and working on my thesis. What are my best options? All right, Master of Medicine. Is that in Singapore by any chance? Okay. All right. I think your best option, being a new graduate, coming from not sure what country, OBGYN, I would say you could explore fellowship, but realistically, you may have to be prepared for doing residency all over again. Yeah, but if your training is from Singapore, then I think you have a slightly higher chance of matching into a fellowship. All right. Dr. Zakir Shah says, being a qualified endocrinologist in Pakistan, what are the options, fellowships or specialties? Thank you. Well, I think your options, Dr. Shah, are pretty straightforward. I think I would focus on since you're a qualified endocrinologist. Hopefully, you have some clinical experience for a few years, and you can see what your specialization in and focus on some of the fellowships in endocrinology. And I would encourage you to look into those options and then move forward by applying for those. Okay? Because a fellowship for anyone who has already completed their training in their home country is always a fantastic option. Although a fellowship alone does not let you practice, it does provide a beautiful pathway for you to be successful in these countries. Okay? All right. Next question is from Dr. Avula, who says, Dr. Sir, I'm Dr. Krishnan, Kishan, sorry about that. MDS, oral and maxillofacial surgeon, and my wife is MDS periodontology. Is the same alternate pathway applies to our specialties too in Canada? See, dentistry works on a very different pathway. There are some options for residencies in dentistry, but for the most part, people do end up doing a basic dental training in these countries in order to obtain a DDS or a DMD. But there are very few alternative options. So the alternate pathway that exists in medicine is not equally applicable to dentistry, okay? Because right now, I mean, there could be some shortage of dentists in rural areas, but dentistry works on a completely different scale as compared to medicine, okay? So when we interact with dentists, with whom I'm really closely associated with, I see the practice, insurance, everything is so different there as compared to medicine, okay? All right, hopefully that answers your question. All right, Dr. Margot says, can I practice an anesthesiologist after doing fellowship in Canada, and does it require MCCQ1? I have done 3 publications. Okay. All right. So a fellowship per se for an IMG for any specialty, whether it's the USA or Canada, does not let you practice, does not let you be an independent practitioner. Then why do you want to do a fellowship? If you do a fellowship, it's a fantastic addition to your CV, and then you can use that fellowship experience to explore the next steps, which ideally, the best case scenario would be functioning as a consultant or an attending physician, through which you can use all these alternate pathways that exist both in the Canada and US and establish yourself. Worst case scenario, if you're not able to get that, you can always use that experience to go back into residency. So that is the beauty of doing fellowships. Okay. Now, whether you need MCCQ1 or not depends on what pathway you're choosing. If you go through the MCC pathway, of course, you need the MCCQ1. If you go through the Royal College or the provincial based pathway, you do not need the MCCQ1. Okay. Cool. All right, Dr. LM. I'm a fresh MD dermatology graduate from India. I would like to get some work experience in Canada before applying to Gulf countries. What are the options to get 3 to 4 years of experience in dermatology? So, first of all, getting anything dermatology is extremely painful because of limited number of options that exist for dermatologists. But you could certainly explore a fellowship or residency. Those would be the 2 options if your training is exclusively from India. And also, something I would question is if you need to go to Gulf countries, why do you even have to get this Canadian training? I mean, I understand that um, your pay is based on what country you're coming from because there is a huge bias there, but you would still not be certified in Canada if you do a fellowship. Okay, it would be considered more of a clinical experience, but not a Canadian certification. So these are some of the things you need to consider before you take this move. But again, if you have to move to Canada, then your options would be fellowships or residencies, what I see, based on the limited information you have provided. All right. Dr. Pratima asks, how many months prior do I have to apply for fellowship? Depending on the fellowship, it could range anywhere from 6 months all the way up to 2 years, and sometimes even longer for some of the specialties like orthopedics, neurosurgery. Again, it really depends on what fellowship you're applying to and what. On an average, I would say you may want to target 9 months to a year. A year might be safer. Dr. Atul says, good evening, sir, from India. Hi, Dr. Atul, and thanks for joining. Okay, my kids are still here. I want to make sure they're available for the wheel spin. Dr. Afrin says, hello, sir. This is Dr. Cynthia from Bangladesh. I'm a radiation oncologist, completed my 5 years MD residency very recently this year, and have just started post graduation work as a specialist since the past 2 months. What are my possibilities in terms of achieving fellowship in Canada in my subject? See, I can't put a number or the chances because I don't have your full credentials. But radiation oncology is a great specialty, and assuming you have the requisite experience, assuming you have a solid CV and application package, you can always apply and see what happens. And radiation oncology also has, like most other specialties, alternate entry path in the USA. And if you decide to do USMLE, then you can always certainly explore the alternate entry path in the USA as well. You can always enter the system through the fellowship, but eventually be board certified and all that through the alternate entry path program. Okay? All right. Uh, Dr. Goldendeep Singh says, okay. Hi, Dr. Rajiv. I'm a surgeon trained in India, okay, ECFMG certified, and currently licensed in New York. Okay, what are you licensed as? I would be interested in, as a most likely not as a surgeon, I would think. I am awaiting for EAD. In the meantime, I applied for jobs, not successful. Please guide. Okay, so I need to know what are you currently licensed in, and what jobs are you applying for? So that would be helpful for me to tell you, what to do and where exactly to think about. All right, Dr. Kush says, excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. So at least I know that I'm not just speaking to my camera, but at least it's helping you guys. I think we did take this question from Dr. Avula, right? I think it might be a repeat question. Dr. Shweta says, okay, I finished my DA DNB in India, okay, currently working in OB anesthesia since 6 months, excellent. My question is, I finished my step 1 and 2 before 2017 and got ECFMG certified too. Do I need to write USMLE again? No, you don't have to. So the new pathways for USMLE, all these 2-year limits and do this, do that, all the different new 6 pathways started since COVID. So in COVID, ECFMG decided to stop USMLE Step 2 CS and then introduce the exam OET. Since then, they've introduced a lot of different ECFMG pathways. It is quite confusing, it is complex, but for those folks who are ECFMG certified before this, you're good to go. It's good for life. But of course, you do need to do your USMLE Step 3, okay, in case the plan is still to transition to the US. All right. Next question is from Dr. I think Rahman, which says, is there a way to work in the USA as a doctor with MRCOG and MRCPI done, but without training and 20 years of experience with 10 years experience in Saudi Arabia? So the MRCOG, MRCPI do not help with anything. They do not even help in the UK. Forget about helping here. Okay, so one is that. The second is, in theory, you can work in the US, in theory, okay, based on all these new regulations. But the most difficult part in your case would be who's going to hire you, okay? That would be the situation. So I'm going to say it is going to be extremely challenging to find a job in the US, but it never hurts to try and see what happens, okay? But be very realistic that you might not find jobs as you start applying. But if you're okay spending the time, energy to do this, you can certainly take a shot and see. Because in theory, yes, you can, based on all stuff like Tennessee law and other things. Okay. All right. Dr. Atul says, out of context, okay, but is President Trump's anti immigration policy and difficulty in getting visas will affect my chances of getting a fellowship after USMLE steps? Will PDS consider this? Oh, okay. This is the second question on President Trump. Well, as I said, in my opinion, President Trump is focused on the illegal aspects of immigration, and I don't think it's going to affect legal immigration. And as doctors, uh, the hospitals that hire us, so there is a concept of H-1B cap, Okay, every year there is a limit on how much H1B is provided. The limit is 85,000 H1B visas. So which means every year there are 85,000 people new H1Bs processed. Now, this is 65,000 of this is given to people who are coming from outside the USA, and 20,000 of which is given to people who are already in the USA with advanced US degrees or who might be outside the USA with advanced US degrees. These are folks on, let's say, things on like F1 and stuff like that. Those, there is a possibility that the caps can get affected. But since we as doctors, for the most part, do not come under any cap exempt, it is very, very unlikely that we would be affected by any of these policy changes. But again, if something were to change, we would update this in a video or some other format. But as of now, I'm not really worried about that part. Okay, we already have an extensive shortage of doctors and cannot have more. Okay, so what I would say is, this is in general to all of you. Instead of focusing on visas, instead of focusing on license, how do I get a green card, things like that, just focus on one thing. How do I get a job? How do I get a position that is relevant for my experience, for my background? Once you have that, everything else falls into place. Say, for example, you're able to secure a fellowship, okay, then you'll get a visa, you'll get a license, you'll get all that. You're able to secure a consultant job, you'll get a full license, you'll get a visa, all that, okay. The hospital will help you make that happen. So focus on the jobs. That's all I'm saying. That's the whole summary I want you to take out of this. Okay, all right. Dr. J says, I'm doing Masters of Clinical Medicine in OBGYN Master of Medicine from China. I see. Okay. My university is WHO recognized, and if I'm not qualified for direct pathway, what are my best ways to practice in Canada? I would say most likely residency. Okay. So let's see. Dr. Avula says, hi sir, what are the options for oral maxillosurgeon and periodontist to enter the healthcare system in Canada? I think we did approach this, isn't it? So I would say, I mean, in general, I can say that you focus on entering the system through the advanced practice dentistry. Try to focus on completing DDS, DMD, and stuff like that. So that is what most of the dentists do. There are other options, but the most popular one happens to be entering the system through advanced standing dentistry. Okay. All right. Oh, by the way, I also want to say that in addition to guiding medical doctors, okay, like physicians, surgeons, everyone, dental doctors, we also now provide guidance to nurses. Okay, so we have an experienced nurse who's practicing currently in the U.S., who is now part of our team, and she actually does have appointments. If any of you know nurses who are interested in getting career guidance, so her name is Amy. Amy will be more than happy to guide you in terms of nursing careers as well. Okay. All right, Dr. Atul. Continuing from previous question, more so will it affect me getting a consultant position? Oh no, I mean, you're asking the same thing. So no, we don't think so. If at all anything, the changes with any immigration should be very minuscule, and it's very, very unlikely it's going to affect doctors, based on my opinion. Again, if anything changes, we will try to post, and you can always follow the news and see what's happening. But it's very unlikely it's going to get affected. All right. So, how easy or difficult is it to get a subspecialty fellowship immediately after doing anesthesia residency from India? It's going to be extremely difficult because they are looking at candidates who do have clinical experience, who have actually excelled in all aspects of anesthesiology, like research, education, quality, safety, and other things. And also, they look at a complete package. So, it's not going to be easy. Dr. Simha, hi doctor, I'm a pulmonologist from India with more than 7-year experience. Tell me the pathway for fellowship in lung transplantation. I actually am. So the pathway itself is applying for a fellowship. I'm not sure pathway for fellowship in lung transplantation. So probably you're meaning to say, how do you approach finding this? So if you do have some experience, do you have any experience in lung transplantation? Okay, so that is the first thing that is important. If you have something, that is going to work in your favor, and then you find the fellowships that's actually targeted in that, and then you would apply with a strong application. So that's how you would focus on finding a fellowship in lung transplantation. Okay, does that answer your question? All right, Dr. J, I'm completing my question here. Okay. My Master of Clinical Medicine is also from China. I would like to get a fellowship in Canada or US, and if not, possibly residency. Yeah, I as I told you, you realistically may want to be prepared by through residency. Okay, because of two reasons. So one is actually three reasons. One is the training is from China. Again, I'm not trying to say one country is inferior or superior, but the way the training is looked at can differ from country to country. So you're training from China, you're OBGYN, and you're a fresh graduate. Nobody's stopping you from applying for a fellowship, but realistically, I would say residency would be more possible. Dr. Manu Matthew says, thank you for setting this Q&A question. Thank you, Dr. Matthew. And Dr. Matthew shares with us some of the Senate bills using which we do some analysis and see if those are appropriate to make videos, and then we do make videos based on that. So thank you. All right. Now, Dr. Atul says, and sir, how competitive is getting endocrinology fellowship in the USA? I have already done DM endocrinology and 4 years consultant experience here in India. Well, I think that those look favorable. Those look favorable that you have already completed endocrinology fellowship in the USA, plus the fact that you have 4 years of consultant experience. So I would say it is competitive. I'm not saying you apply it, you get it, but I think those are the favorable things the program is looking for. So using that as experience, you can actually apply for a fellowship and see what happens. So I think you're in a phase where you can apply is what I'm saying. Just make sure, because you have limited opportunities, there are very few programs. Once you apply to a program, they don't get back. You don't have an option of going back to them. So right from the beginning, make sure you come up with a strong application and apply for it. Okay? You guys okay? Okay. Don't whisper, okay? It's distracting. All right, Dr. Mushtaq says, sir, what are the options for radiologist FCPS from Pakistan for getting license in Canada other than residency? Does a fellowship contribute to license? So whenever you guys do fellowships in USA or Canada, the license issued will be called a training license. So as I said earlier, the fellowship per se is not going to let you practice your specialty as a fully licensed doctor. But this is a fantastic opportunity to explore the next steps. Okay, so that is what I would encourage you follow. But no, fellowship per se doesn't give you a full license, but it does pave a really solid future steps to obtain a full license. Okay. All right. So if any of you want to need a one-on-one guidance, you can always go to our website, book an appointment. The difference is we can take a really in-depth review at your CV and then provide you exact guidance on what you need to do, how to approach this, which steps to take, what pathways to take, what states to focus on, and things like that. So those are very specific, because then I would be speaking to you, or one of our experts would be speaking to you really in detail, asking you a lot of different questions. Okay, so that is the difference. All right. Let's see. Dr. Pratima says he's doing observership in USA mandatory before applying for fellowship programs. It is not. So observerships are done by folks who actually want to build their CV for, let's say, doing residency and stuff like that. But we don't see. I mean, let's say you end up doing a observership. During that time, you can always express your interest to do a fellowship. Okay, because at that time you're already in the US. You know people. You're seeing them in person. But that does not guarantee you would get a fellowship. But that's an option. But no, I mean, we when we have IMGs apply for fellowships, most of them have not done any observerships in the US. All right. Dr. Manor says, hi, even if I think the question is truncated. I do not have board certification and no US experience, is what Dr. Singh says. But my question was, what are you licensed in? Or did you mean to say I'm not licensed? So that is a part I missed actually, Dr. Singh. So you did say you're waiting for an EAD, and you did say you applied for jobs. You didn't hear back, but you're a surgeon. Now, what type of jobs are you looking for, and what are you licensed in? Is what I'm interested in now. Oh, by the way, if any of you wants to join live to ask questions, let me send this link again. Okay, so you're welcome to join and ask questions live as well. Now, because I sent a text, all the text moved away. So let me go back to the text. Okay, so we talked to Dr. Singh. And then the next question is from Dr. Kumar. I'm a cardiologist with 8 years past my DM residency. Is there any options for fellowship and practicing in USA without USMLE? See, in theory, there are options. And I couldn't comment specifically on your situation because I have not seen your full CV. I have not seen your full background and stuff like that. In theory, I would say if someone does not have USMLE, then has a solid experience, then you're probably better off trying directly for a consultant job than for a fellowship. Again, this sounds paradoxical, but there are many reasons why I say this, and that is what I would encourage you to do as well. So again, be very realistic. Know that because you apply doesn't mean that you'll definitely get a position, but you're not losing anything by applying. Okay, if the hospital doesn't like you, they would say no, or they may not even get back. Those are the usual things that happen. But these are the options. Okay. If you need our help, you can always come to us. All right. So this is Dr. Sai Kiran. Dr. Sai Kiran.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Hello. How are you doing?
Fine, fine, sir. I have two doubts. One thing is I have completed my neurosurgery from India,
Mm-hmm.
and post neurosurgery I have 5 years of experience.
Okay.
Okay, so now seeing at the alternate entry pathway, so many states are coming up with the alternate entry pathway. My relatives in USA has asked me multiple times, why don't you give a chance and complete your steps and come here and become a neurosurgeon via the alternate entry pathway. I do understand getting into neurosurgery residency, neurosurgery program in US is extremely difficult. So what are my chances, and is it prudent to go for steps, and maybe sometimes after completing all the steps I may end up not having any opportunity there and come back again and practice
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here. So what are the options there? And I have seen your video of a Italian neurosurgeon
Mm-hmm.
who you matched him uh, into the into the alternate entry pathway. I, sup-
Yeah. Yeah. So here are a couple of things. So I wouldn't focus. So first of all, I think your relatives are right. There's nothing stopping you, or there is no loss in applying and trying. Now, the first steps, because your training is from India, is to focus on fellowship, not the alternate entry path. So that is one thing. Okay. So apply for fellowships, and In order to apply for fellowships, you do need USMLE steps. Okay. And without USMLE, it's going to be hard to convince a program to take you as a fellow. Has that happened? Yes, that has happened, but in general, it is very difficult. And the second thing is, you always have to remember there is always a chance that no matter what you try, there is always a possibility that nothing might click. And that is true not only for you as a neurosurgeon, that is true for anyone. And that is true for anything in life for that matter. Okay? So, any steps you take, I mean, you went into MBBS, you didn't know you would go into MBBS. You went into MS, you didn't know that. You went into neurosurgery, you didn't know that, but you always had a risk of not getting anything at all, right? So, it would be the same thing. USMLE involves extensive amount of time, money, and stress. Okay, but if that is a pathway you want to choose, I would encourage you can always try it out, and recognize that yes, there is a possibility that you might still be in India, and India is a great place to be. There is nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Sure,
But
it's my
thanks a
pleasure.
lot.
Okay, all right,
Okay, sure, sure.
all right. So let me know whenever, Anna, that we need to do whatever we need to do. I think we talked to Dr. Chaitanya Kumar, right? And the next question goes to Dr. Arup Basak, which is it possible for an old YOG to join a fellowship program in USA or Canada after completing residency in home country? Yeah, so when they're looking at fellowships for IMGs, they're not looking at year of graduation and things like that. So what they're looking at is, what is the clinical experience of this person, how experienced they are, what other things they have done on their CV. I mean, how is their personality? How are they to communicate? These are some of the things they're looking at. The fellowships does not look at year of graduation. They do not look at USMLE scores also, okay, and things like that. All right. Dr. Manohar says, hi, even if a state does not have a legislation opening up board certification for IMGs, without MLE, will it be possible for the hospital to get a license and create a pathway? The pathway already exists. Okay, the pathway already exists in all states to obtain a full license, to obtain a full board certification. It does not have to do with any state legislations. These are two completely different concepts. So the pathway always exists in all states. So that is not something you have to worry about. And this is for obviously for eligible candidates. Okay, all right. Dr. Manohar says, is there any difference if I join an alternate pathway candidate as faculty? Will I be treated the same way as a board certified doctor? I'm in the US through the alternate entry path. Myself, I'm not treated any differently. So I don't expect anyone to be treated any differently. They're all the same. All right. Dr. Sayada says, hello, Dr. Iyer. Is there, I think the question is truncated. Anna, you want to come and do the spinny? What do you think? Dr. Atul says, you told after fellowship we cannot apply for a consultant job. Is this true? I did not say that. And if you heard it from someone that I said it, they're just lying. You can certainly apply for a consultant job. All right. Dr. Noshiba says, hi, doctor. I completed MBBS and MMed of pediatrics both from China in English language. And what are the chances for fellowship I can do in the USA and Canada? My both universities is ECFMG approved. What are the chances for fellowship I can do in the USA and Canada? I mean, pediatrics in general is a specialty that many IMGs are in, and in general, it's considered a specialty that is a lot more open for IMGs than others. So you could certainly, look into applying for fellowships in the USA. In the USA, you obviously do need USMLE, but certainly in Canada, and see what happens, and then go from there. Okay, come on. Oh, you want to come and tell them? Oh, we missed that.
Okay, We're gonna do the spin wheel now, but everyone now needs to put their name in the comments so I can add them to the wheel. We missed it earlier, but we're gonna do it now.
All right. So continue liking the video, continue asking questions, put your name on the wheel. I mean, in the comments, and then she's going to do. If you're still not subscribed, obviously do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So subscribe, like, comment, and the fourth thing is put your name in, and then we would pick someone on the wheel spin, with whom I would have the pleasure to speak to. All right, Dr. Ahmed says hi, Dr. Ahmed. Thanks for joining. And here is a question from Dr. Bammidi. Hi, I'm from India. I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon having experience of 15 years. What are my options to enter the healthcare system of Canada as an oral and maxillofacial surgeon? Can your IMG pathway help us in any way? Oral and maxillofacial surgery, I think, as I mentioned earlier, is extremely difficult to get in. And the pathway most dentists follow is actually going through a DDS, through the advanced standing programs, for which they have to complete certain exams and then apply to some of these programs. So these are considered equivalent to basic dental school. And then you finished an abbreviated training, following which you get DDS or DMD. And subsequently, the candidates do have the option of doing residencies, or they can just continue as a general dentist after completing all these pathways. So the way our IMG Secrets helps us is, we do have a dental expert, and we provide exact guidance on how to go through these steps and then apply to the programs and stuff like that. Help prepare your applications and then provide you like guidance through navigating through each steps. If that is something you're interested in, you can always go to our website and book an appointment from there. Okay. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. And Dr. Panda says, how to find for research fellowship or associate positions? Searching for fellowships usually gives clinical options. Google, I would say, is a lot more smarter than me. So you can actually just be very specific in the search terminologies you use, and it should be able to pull up your job opportunities. Another great website is Indeed.com. Again, we are not associated or affiliated with that in any shape or form, but I see that it does pull a lot of different options for jobs. So that is something else you can try. But Google is solid. I mean, Google search can pull anything. I think the next question is from Dr. Saikiran. We already talked to him. And the next question from Parag, Dr. Parag. I'm an international neurologist from Bangladesh practicing independently for last 5 years. What is the best alternate pathway for me? Now, Dr. Parag, if your training is exclusively from Bangladesh, I would say at this stage, instead of focusing on alternate path, try to get through the system through a fellowship, and then you can explore the alternate entry paths. Because for many countries, these programs expect that you do have some training locally. So I would say a fellowship would be a great first option. Just similar to what I told Dr. Sai Kiran to enter a fellowship in neurosurgery, and what we help with the video we have on our YouTube, a neurosurgeon from Italy. So it's kind of the same pathway. So I would say explore a fellowship. Now I do have to say, even after doing a fellowship, there is a high likelihood you may not find anything. But you guys have to be very realistic with that, and also make sure you come with a strong application with each steps. Just because you achieve one thing doesn't automatically does the second thing. Okay. Okay, Dr. Mushtaq says, sir, what are the options for radiologist FCPS from Pakistan for getting license in Canada other than residency? Does fellowship contribute to license? I think we did talk about it, how you can use a fellowship experience to obtain a license, because fellowship per se does not give you an independent license. All right. Dr. Manohar says, great help. You're doing a great job. Thank you. How much time does it take to do MLE? This is a very variable question. So I would say there are people who have done it in 2 to 3 weeks. There are people who have done it in 1 year. There are people who have never done it. On an average, I would say it takes 3 to 6 months. But if you feel like you're not confident to take the exam, I would move more towards the 4 to 6 months range and not rush and fail the exams. But you know yourself much better. You know how much you know about Krebs cycle. You know how much you know about what bacteria has a capsule or what virus has a spike or whatever it is. Okay. So based on that, you can determine how much time you would need to do these things. Okay. Again, it's very variable. I would say, I took close to 3 months myself, but there are people who have done it for less. There are people who have done it for more. So it really depends how each person is. All right. Doctor, recently I took USMLE 1 for the first time. It was hard. Exactly. So that's why you need to be very well prepared. Does my result pass or fail affect my future fellowship application? Thanks. If the focus is just a fellowship, a 1 fail in the exam usually does not cause any problems. But a multiple failures causes huge problems, whichever pathway you're going to apply for. So that's why, failing exam is not only frustrating, but it also takes a lot more stress, time, and effort to do it all over again. So just better to get it done right in the first shot. What do you think? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do this wheel spin, and I'm trying to see if I can share my screen this time. Okay. And last time we were not able to share my screen. So all the names are in, but if you don't see all the names, obviously it's because they're all clustered together. So don't panic about that. Okay. All right. So let's see how to. This is camera. This is oops. I don't want to mess it up. All right. Ecam needs permission to capture the screen. Oh, okay. Never mind. We might have to use the other laptop actually because I can't share my screen with this. Sorry. But we will show you the laptop. Does the little guy want to come and do this? All right. Can we make this a full screen?
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is their project during this live session. So they do this. What button are we pressing?
The spin.
Okay.
Just tap the wheel.
Tap the wheel. All right, guys. There you go. Is it spinning?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Ah, this is our game. What do you say? What's the name, man? Okay, never mind. I'll see the name. The name is Dr. Nitin Manohara. Okay, that's the name. Congratulations, Dr. Nitin Manohara. So please do reach out to us at contact us at imgsecrets.com. Just email us, please, within the next 3 days, and we can set up an appointment with you. I really look forward to talking to you, and it would be a pleasure to talk to you.
And if you didn't win, don't worry. You can always come for our next live session next month and try again.
That's right. Plus, you can always book an appointment with us at www.imgsecrets.com, and I'll be speaking to you, not this guy. All right. We'll take a couple more questions, and I think it's time to wind up because I've been speaking for the last 1 hour continuously. Now, Dr. Ahmed says, good evening. What is the Tennessee pathway? After 2 years, do they award by the fellowship or just the permanent license? With this license, we can work in all over the USA or just in Tennessee? Okay, all right. So the question, as I understand, is what happens after 2 years if you do get a position in Tennessee? Now, here's the thing. If you do get a position in Tennessee, after 2 years, the law says you can actually get a full license in the state of Tennessee. Now, the way the process works is, at that point, you would have a full state license in the state of Tennessee, And subsequently, if you decide to move to a different state out of Tennessee, finding a license in a different state is going to be a lot more straightforward. Okay, so there are options to obtain a license in other states if you do decide to move out of Tennessee after having a full license in Tennessee. Okay, so yes, those are options. Now, if you do decide to go to Canada at that point, that should be easy too. The law doesn't say this. Of course, we know by our experience that these things are possible. All right, so Dr. Goldendeep Singh is back and says that I do have a full physician license but not board certified in surgery, no USA experience. How can I find a job as a surgeon or a fellowship position? Okay, all right. So you're saying you have a full physician license from your home country, which I assume is India, but nothing in the USA, right? Okay. How can I find a job as a surgeon or fellowships positions? Well, in order to find a fellowship, you have to see what your previous experience is in, and then based on that, you find a fellowship that's actually applicable to your previous experience, and then create a strong application, and then you would send emails to the program directors asking them for a fellowship position. If they like you as a candidate, they would call you for an interview, and then they would offer you a position. Again, remember, it sounds like you've been out of practice because you are staying in the USA. And once any IMG is out of practice, especially in specialties like surgery, getting anything is going to be extremely difficult. Okay, but that is a process you would take in order to approach to find a position as a fellow. You cannot find a job directly as a consultant surgeon or an attending surgeon. That would not be an option because sounds like your training is exclusively from India. I mean, that is an option, but I would be very surprised if you're able to find a position. So that is going to be extremely difficult. Okay, all right, folks. Thank you so much. I know there are many other questions, but we will take them the next time, or you can always post those on YouTube, or you can always book an appointment with us at www.imgsecrets.com. As I said, we guide all kinds of doctors, including physicians, surgeons, whatever your specialty is, dental doctors, and nurses. Okay. So, all right. If you need our guidance, you can go to our website, book an appointment. It's so nice talking to you, and thank you for all the love and support. And it's incredibly exciting to see the number of people reacting on our videos, sending messages. So it just makes us feel good that we are actually providing some value. So you've been successful, and when we hear messages that, oh, I got called for an interview, I got called for a position, it just makes us feel so good that at least we are helping people in some way. So do continue to support us, and thank you all so very much for doing that. And as always, take care, stay safe. I will talk to you soon.